Hi, I'm Joshua Ponsafo of the New African Concept, and you are warmly welcome to yet another edition of the SANKOFA Shift, retrieving the past to build the future. Last week, we gave an introductory foundation to what we seek to build and then converse on. And we ended on the fact that man has two sides, the inner self, which is the substance, and the outer self, which is the form. And the form gives expression and manifestation to the substance. It means between the form and substance, the substance is the core, the very essence, the very real deal, the very being. As a man is, so is a civilization. Therefore, the society that a man builds also has that resonating semblance. So, in every space you find yourself, there is the inner self and then there is the outer self. Tonight, we would want to continue our conversation. So, have that at the back of your mind as we move on. All these are preliminary before we start the real historical archives. These are very important to lay basic foundation. Have you heard of what is normally called the state-nation gap? That is what for the next 2 or 3 weeks we want to explore. And I am presenting this as more or less a thesis or a hypothesis concerning our issues as a nation, Ghana, and then Africa. For the purpose of our discussion, I'll be using nation in a more technical sense. Normally, we use state, nation, and country freely and interchangeably in the usual discussions. But because our subject of interest is the state-nation discussion, I'll be using state in a technical sense and nation in a technical sense. And I'll be defining them as we go along. So when I want to use generic sense, I'll prefer using country. Our country, Ghana. So the question now is, what is the real Ghana? Is the real Ghana what we find in the form, which is the constitution, which is the arms of government, which are the various institutions, the public service, and all the other things we can think about, the television stations, the social media? Is that a real Ghana, or there is a real Ghana somewhere? Even before we continue, from the background I have given you, I believe you don't need a prophet to tell you that the real Ghana is not the form. The real Ghana is not essentially the constitution. The real Ghana is not the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive. The real Ghana is hidden within. The real Ghana is the substance. The real Ghana is the values. The values and the mindset of a people is the real people. The others are only external. So on the blessed day, on Wednesday, 6th March 1957, that was when Ghana was born, with Osagyefo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and then others proclaiming independence unto us. Among many things, Nkrumah said a lot of powerful things. Maybe you may remember some of them. He said that at long last, the battle has ended. And Ghana, our beloved, you know the accent that they had at that time. I don't know what happened to our accent. For now, it has changed. But he said that, among other things, he said that Ghana, our beloved country, is free forever. Backward never, forward ever. He also said that this day, the new African has been born, and that Ghana and Africa is getting ready to show to the whole world that if the black man is given the opportunity or the chance, he will prove that he is capable of managing his own affairs. Hope you remember those powerful speeches. He said that seek ye first the political kingdom and all other things, playing around Jesus' Matthew 6:33 of seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all other things shall also be given unto you. He played a pundit around it and then said that seek ye first the political kingdom and all other things. I wasn't there on that fateful day. However, it was a day of bliss. It was a day that people shared in the joy. The likes of Martin Luther King Jr. and many other people flew into our country to celebrate this independence, because Ghana was the first sub-Saharan African country to procure independence. So it was so blissful. I wish these fathers were alive, the likes of Kwame Nkrumah, so that we would have been, maybe I would have invited him to the shift, the SANKOFA shift, and we would have had a dialogue that looking down the line, what therefore will you say? So what is the dream? The dream in 1957 was that we are to pursue the political kingdom, or which is the political independence, and then all other things, the social, the cultural, and the economic independence will naturally follow. We thought the pushing away of the white man or the British from Ghana meant freedom, meant liberation. Well, what is the reality 50 or 69 years down the line? And by next year, we will be 70 years down the line. What we have is that we have a sovereign state with a persistent struggle to build a cohesive nation. We are going somewhere. The end result is that we have a sovereign state, but we are struggling to build a cohesive nation. And the concept that explains this reality is what I have tabled as the state-nation gap. What therefore is a state? So now I am giving it in its technical sense. A state is a legal entity or a government with elements like, so characteristics of a state. It is a legal entity. It has a government. It has borders. It has a constitution. So when you have an entity which is legal in disposition, has a running or a functional government, has borders or demarcations or physical borders, and then also has a governing constitution, we can call it a state. And by this, Ghana is a state. We have a government. We have a constitution. We have our borders to Burkina Faso, to Togo. We have our borders. And then we also have it as a legal entity. What is a nation? It is a psychological bond of shared prosperity and lived experience. So whereas the state talks about these characteristics of the constitution, the government, the borders, and things like that, a nation talks of a binding or a bonding element. So a nation is a group of people that are bound together on certain things like a common history or a common language or a common element, something that binds them together. One nation, one language, one people. And what I am positing at this point is that Ghana is struggling with its nationhood, though it is a state. So there is a gap between the statehood and the nationhood. We have succeeded in building the state of Ghana because it is a legal entity, because it has these characteristics of statehood. However, we are yet to build the nation. The neglect of the nationhood is what has led our country in that imbalanced element. So what is the verdict? The verdict here is that there is an apparent strong state, but the nation, which is the real Ghana, remains a work in progress. It tells you that the nation is the substance, which we said last week. And then the state is the form. Physical bodies, statehood. Government, statehood. Constitution, statehood. You can see these things. Legal entity, statehood. That is the externalization of the country called Ghana. However, the very nation, which is the people bound together on a common ground, we are struggling. Therefore, the real Ghana is the nation, and then which is the substance, which the form, which is the state, gives expression to it. We therefore have a state called Ghana, but the nation called Ghana is a work in progress. And I believe that this is the onus lies on us, that the unfinished project will be able to take it up. So we shared in Nkrumah's vision and what they had in their minds as they were procuring independence. But little did we know that the independence we were procuring was really different. That there is a difference between political independence and then socio-economic and cultural independence. We are yet to get these kinds of independence. No wonder 69 years down the line. Unfortunately, let me burst your bubble on that we have not succeeded in solving a single problem post-independence. Very unfortunate, very terrible, very sad. With all our professors, with all our PhD holders, with all our government systems, with all the change of power, with everything, with the trillions of dollars that have been pumped in from IMF to World Bank to the Eastern Tigers into Africa, when you put everything together, the end result is that Ghana as a country, we cannot pinpoint a single problem that we can say that as for this one, you solve it. Electricity, potable water, issues of education, name it. All the problems during Kwame Nkrumah's time, they are still prevalent, and some of it are in even greater bounds. Yes, we underscore that efforts have been made. However, we are still not there. And what is the issue? It is because of the state-nation gap. As we draw the curtains of tonight's session to an end, next week we'll be looking at the evidence. Now I have thrown in a subject, and as we do in academics, when you present something like that, then the onus lies on you to give an evidence to back it. And in our next two sessions, I will be taking my time to delve into the evidence that backs what I'm saying, the claim that our problem is a state-nation gap. So there is a state, but our nation is struggling. And that is what we will be exploring. The gap is the space between the government's performance and the people's lived reality. So there is something that the state is doing, but some way, somehow, it does not reflect in the everyday life of the normal, nominal Ghanaian. Because the inner Ghana, the real Ghana, the substance called Ghana, is weak, is frail, and we have a buoyant external presentation called the state. The state called Ghana is directed by the substance, which is the real Ghana, which is the values in our culture. And this one is where we have a problem. The summary of tonight's presentation is Ghana is a state because we have the characteristics of statehood, namely the constitution, the physical borders, and then the government, and then a legal entity. However, Ghana is yet to be constructed as a nation. The nation is that which is on the inside. And unfortunately, the real Ghana is the nation, which is yet to be built. And I believe that is the unfinished business of this very generation. And we shall not fail nor disappoint our generation. God richly bless you. And as we've always said, we see a new tomorrow. Stay blessed till we come your way next week. Bye-bye.
Sariye yo.